So welcome, Brooke Jean. I am thrilled to have you. Thank you for taking the time on a Saturday to connect with me and the audience.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and to have this conversation.
Same here. When you sent me your bio, right, the summary about you, the first pop, right, and I think it goes a little bit also with the beautiful background. For those of you listening, uh, Brooke Jean has a beautiful mural behind her, but also the picture that you sent, right,
Mm-hmm.
with this neon kind of yellow dress, it right
Mm.
away sparks joy. So tell us a little
Yes.
bit more about kind of this pop and the aesthetics and the world, how you have integrated it in your world.
Yes. So my name is Brooke Jean, everybody. My brand is Brooke Jean Unperfected. And that pop that you're talking about, whether it is in my, aesthetics in my offices or my branding on my website or my outfit choices, all of that came through once I started doing the work of unperfecting, which is really about letting go of who you think you're supposed to be to create the life you've always wanted, which really looks like peeling the layers to your authentic expression, your most authentic core. And so when you see that pop, when you see that playfulness, you're seeing the real me that for the first 33 years of my life were covered up in what I thought a good girl, a good wife, a good mother, a good leader, a good corporate leader should look like. And so I just have fun and I like to be bold and I like to sing and dance and be silly. And I'm really letting all those parts of me come through, which also then has this beautiful ripple of goodness on my work and all the things that I do. So thank you for saying that. That two-piece yellow dress is like my favorite. It's basically also, I'm always looking for like a comfy outfit that's kind of like a muumuu or a robe, but you can like wear it as a mom, you can wear it as a therapist, you could wear it actually to like, a happy hour or coffee. It's interchangeable. And so I look for those kinds of things to be comfy in and to be a full expression of who I am.
I love that. And it looks fabulous.
Thank
So
you.
tell us a little more. So before 33, are you saying that you didn't kind of have this? I would say that you also have a pop of personality. You have a very bright and cheerful and awesome personality. Would you say that the first part of your life or earlier on, you did not go kind of with these fun, like visual, that wasn't a part of how you were expressing yourself?
Yeah, I think I was always in there, right? Especially as a child. But I think once I realized there was an expectation on what a girl should look like, sound like, behave like, I started watering that down and turning into a bit of a chameleon and adapting to what I thought people wanted of me. And an interesting part of my story is I actually got pregnant with my oldest child, my son, in college. So
Mm.
I went from like a kiddo being my, full out self to a very insecure adolescent, as many of us are, right? That gets a little shaky in there to, college, which was just Party Day USA, to, oh my gosh, I'm pregnant and I'm gonna now become a mom. And what does it mean to be a good mom? And at that time, I knew I was going to be a single mom and I knew that I needed a really steady career. So I actually started in human resources with Target Corporation before I even graduated college because I wanted something safe and secure that I could grow into and have benefits and, really provide for my kiddo. So I feel like before I could really formulate my true identity or like solidify it, if you will, then I was like groomed as a corporate leader and just trying to be that like bomb ass Target boss babe and a perfect mom. And so I think I got really lost in all of these roles and expectations and standards that were subconsciously set upon me that I was perpetuating to fit in and to be loved and accepted in the world. And I did that and I climbed that corporate ladder for 10 years. And
Mhm.
so at 33, which was kind of my first spiritual awakening, and when I left that corporate career, it was like, I truly had no idea who I was underneath my Target skin, my mom's skin, my good girl skin. all of that. But I think it was always there. It was just watered down. I
Hmm.
was just trying to fit in and be a chameleon, which I think a lot of us do. Like, as playful and even just the way I talk, like that wasn't totally appropriate being a GM for a $35 million business at Target. And it would like get me into trouble sometimes, right? And so
Yeah.
I think I was always in there, but I was watered down, just trying to be what I thought the expectation was, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think that and you got kind of into it very young, even at 33 is still very young,
Huh?
to even have
Mhm.
those realizations. Because I mean, there are, these systems and companies have their own cultures, they have their own ways of behaving, right? And we not model people, right? Our bosses, how they behave, and kind of it's a system. So
100%. It's a system that you adopt and it shapes who you are when you enter that system at the precious age of 21, 22 years old, right?
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And I mean, they have created their own world, right? And it
Mhm.
works for them. So, what happened? So you started like a corporate career, really early on, right out of college, because sometimes, people will have in their 20s, right? They will
Mhm.
still explore like different jobs. So you
Mhm.
kind of started, you had to become responsible, right? Like you said, you had to take care of a child.
Mhm.
Um, how how were your 20s, right? In already in such a kind of focused way, and what happened that you decided that you wanted to leave?
Yeah. My 20s were just like a total shit show, if I can be totally real. Like as I look back, it was like I was working 50 hours a week.
Hmm.
I was successful. I was climbing that corporate ladder. I now know that I'm a recovering in recovery perfectionist. So I now know that I was hiding my trauma that I didn't know I had behind my achievements. So some people have that trauma response where they go hard, and the corporate setting is kind of like a recipe for disaster for people like me, who it's like there's always more to do and more opportunities and more money to make and more people to please. And when you're kind of relying on those external validations to normalize what's brewing inside. And so I would work like really hard. And then every minute that I had off, I was trying to be the perfect mom and be like the idea of a stay at home mom. So, for example, every Wednesday was my day off of work. I was volunteering in my kiddos' classroom every Wednesday. I volunteered for all of the field trips. I always made the cookies to go to the class. I never missed a practice or anything. It was like I didn't allow myself to be anything less than the perfect leader, the perfect mother. And I was starting to burn myself out. And what that kind of manifested into was me kind of waking up in a shame spiral, because the night before I would just start numbing out to just get out of my responsibilities. I would wake up in shame, then I would grind and hustle and try to like outrun my shame with my achievements and how I would show up, just to that next night, like getting my kiddo down and like opening the bottle of wine and eating the plate of brie cheese and buying all the things that I don't remember ordering the next day. Okay.
Yeah.
So my 20s were basically like me not recognizing I had trauma, trying to perfect myself to run from it, engaging in really unhealthy coping mechanisms, and then shaming the living daylights out of myself that I'd fallen into that trap. And so when you do that for a decade, right? Even though I was younger, I mean, that was 33 was 10 years ago. I'm 43 now. When you do that for a decade, it really does take a toll on your mental, emotional, and physical well being and your like self trust and self respect. And so I had basically reached the height of my career. I was running like the most challenging super target in 11 states in our group of targets, because I became the fixer. Like, okay, there's a store that's broken operationally and broken culturally, and it's going to go through a remodel. We're going to send Brooke Jean to go clean that up in 6 months. And so
Mhm.
I'd pigeonholed myself as the fixer and the hero. And what basically ended up happening was My store was positioned right across from the Aurora Theater shooting. So trigger warning here, trigger warning. And my early morning logistics team, most of them were in the theater that night. So I got a phone call at 3 in the morning from my logistics executive. I was the GM of the store. They call it a store team lead at the time. So my logistics executive called me at 3 in the morning and said, there's been a mass shooting across the street. Most of our team was in it, and most of our team is unaccounted for.
Oh my God.
And so I rushed down there, and what unfolded in the next 72 hours, as wild as it sounds, like, it was so tragic, it was so traumatic, it was for sure a community collective trauma and crisis.
Mhm.
And in that, kind of my calling started coming through really clearly, because the way that I was showing up as a leader, the way that I was showing up as a community space holder, the way that I was rebuilding people and all of that. And so basically, over the next several months, it was rebuilding our store, our team. We ended up losing a team member in that. And
Mhm.
so it was a lot of hard for my team and for the community, right? This was just like life-changing stuff. And so we're rebuilding for like 8 or 9 months, and then I get married and I go on my honeymoon, which was in Maui, and I chill on the beach for 10 days, which happened to be the first time that my nervous system was regulating in a decade. I mean, I was just running in a fight response, in a trauma response for at least 10 years. Now that I know what I know, probably longer, right? And it was on my honeymoon that my childhood trauma started coming through that I didn't know had happened.
Really?
So trauma triggers trauma, grief triggers grief. And even though my trauma was completely unrelated, all this started coming through. And it was at that time, and I was 33 years old, which is a very common year for humans to pivot. Just so you know, there's a beautiful book called Transitions by William Bridges. He's a transition expert. I love his work. He named 33 as a common year, and it was in the year of 2012, which was a very big spiritual year. It was supposed to be the ending, but really it was the beginning for many people to wake up. And so I kind of made the executive decision. My poor husband, I'm the freaking breadwinner. We met at Target. My identity, I was like the leadership development queen. Like my whole world was Target. And I'm like, I have to leave my career. It's
Wow.
time. Like I can't, first of all, I can't heal. I can tell I've got some real healing to do, some real getting right with myself. And I can't do that with the pressure of this big job and being a mom and being a wife. Like it's not going to happen.
And
And
this is
also,
happening
this
in your
isn't the work that
honeymoon?
lights me up.
And this is happening, all of these revelations are coming to you in your honeymoon?
Yeah.
In the 10 days? That's fast.
Yes. Oh yeah. You want to get some clarity on your life? Regulate your nervous system for 10 days and listen to your body for once. As women, we disconnect from our bodies at a very young age. So we accidentally shut down that communication to our intuition and to our kind of inner guidance system. And so it was like the first time that I could check in and be like, what is happening? Like, what is it that's good for me? And then it just like flooded through and flooded in. And so I made that really scary choice. And, Target took such good care of me on the way out. And I took 6 months off to shed the corporate skin and get into therapy and do yoga and like try to figure out like, who am I underneath my roles and responsibilities? And I knew based on what had come through in the tragedy that I wanted to be a guide for people's healing and their transformation on a much deeper level than I was going to be able to do as a corporate leader. Like I was always good with my people and understanding them and what makes them tick and motivating them. But I really wanted to get down to like the deep, juicy work. And there just wasn't time for that when we had to, stock the shelves with toilet paper.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what happened that kick-started this like spiritual awakening and this major pivot in my career.
Wow. So how did
Mhm.
you have the courage to leave? Because like people can have that, can feel that the effects, right, of running on autopilot, running in fight or flight. Like what how did you have the courage to leave? Yeah, because like then people, kind of like they take the vacation,
Mhm.
they reset a little bit, and things kind of go in ups and downs, right? Like then it can be crazy and then it kind of evens out for a little bit and then they keep staying longer, right? So
Mhm.
how,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, like so your intuition just kicked in so loudly.
I think for me, it was like it almost felt like a do or die.
Mm,
It was like if I don't do something different, I'm going to keep drinking myself and eating myself and spending myself to death. And
mm,
that's not me, and that's not the mother I want to be, that's not the leader I want to be. And like it was a strong intuitive hit, but it was also like spiritual in the sense of like this isn't working for me, and so it doesn't matter if it makes sense to anyone else. It doesn't matter what a big risk. Do you know how many people thought I was crazy?
mm,
Like I was making insane money, I was getting the big bonus checks, like I had set up a future for my family, and I was only 33, and that was just the beginning. I was on the track to become a district manager and a group manager, and it didn't matter. It was like that path is going to kill me because
mm.
I'm not handling it well. It looks like I am,
Yeah,
but believe me, and this is why I work with women similar to me that are like the high performing, high achieving, perfectionistic. They've done all the things. They have the career, the family, the house, the car, the vacations, and then they're literally drinking themselves to death, or they're binging and purging, or they're shaming themselves. Like they're deep in a depression and no one knows because I'm like a high functioning
yeah.
person. And so it didn't like because I had lost my authentic expression and I was really good at hiding my suffering, it surprised everybody. But
Mm,
I just knew deep down, like, I'm not handling this well. This isn't for me. This is not my life's work. And then the more I like started getting in nature and doing yoga and sitting, this is where I found meditation and like the beginning of kind of my just like spiritual journey. It was like, oh, wow, like I have a much bigger purpose. And
mm,
I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but like I am here to do some important work and I will not be able to do it if I am wrecking myself every night to cope with my responsibilities.
yeah.
And so I would say, if you're not sure, there will come a point when the universe is going to kick you in the you know what's and say, get on the right path.
Mhm.
And maybe that is your partner asking for a divorce, or you losing that job, or you having kind of a mental health crisis, was just kind of how I describe what I went through. Um, and so that will come. I think a lot of people would like to get in front of that, but you can trust that like it will come where you're like, this isn't working for me anymore. But I think for me, it was easier because I don't want to pretend like it was easy. It took a lot of courage, but also I believe in myself because at that point, there wasn't a single thing that I said I was going to do that I hadn't done.
Mhm.
So I knew like I will figure it out. I don't care if I have to be a manager at Taco Bell. Like I'll figure it out. I'm going to provide for my family. Like I'm a worker. Like I love to work. Like it's going to be okay.
Mm,
And just trusting it. But yeah, that's not an easy thing to do. So I don't want to minimize it. But for me, it was like, I can't keep on this path that I'm on because it is so unhealthy.
and so what happens next? So 6 months you really took time off, like, without
Mhm.
starting anything, without applying to any other jobs, without starting to take steps for your building your business? You just kind of took time to decondition?
Yes. Yes. And I was able to do that because Target took care of me financially on my way out. And so I was like, I'm not going to get in my busy, anxious mind and start doing. I knew like I can't make decisions because I'm so lost from my authentic soul. Like it's too soon. And this is what I see a lot of women do that I
Yes,
work with. We get uncomfortable in the unknown because guess what? The
very.
brain doesn't like that. Okay, the brain has evolved to keep us safe. So when it can't predict future outcomes, here comes the anxiety. We tend to prematurely jump into something new that isn't the right alignment either. So
Right.
the real work is to regulate your nervous system, do the healing work, have some support to sit in the yuck of the transition and not knowing. to do the deep inner work, to get really clear on like what your standards are. What do you want for your life? What are your desires? What are your dreams? And that's a journey and a process, because if I were to ask myself, what's my dream right after leaving, my body was like, get a job. Like there wasn't,
I
I had to like I had to heal my relationship with my body before it would start to tell me more and more and more about what I truly desired. And so
I
that's a process.
I
That
love
doesn't
that.
happen overnight. And
Yeah,
so you
so
got to really settle in to the discomfort, like get comfortable with the uncomfortable of not knowing, but your brain doesn't like that. And your nervous system does
very
not.
it's very uncomfortable in, especially now, like there have been many layoffs, and sometimes it is like you said, when the door closing because you didn't like the job anyway, right? Or the job was, you were experiencing different symptoms that were not your dream job by no means.
Yeah.
But, you hear a lot of advice of just keep going, just do things, right? You figure it out through action, and then people start right away. And I've been there, I can relate, you can go from, okay, this, but then the fear kicks in, the anxiety kicks in, and you start applying to the same jobs, or similar
Mhm.
jobs, or just think that maybe you'll find a better culture, but you can do the same thing, just for a different company and it will be different. Because then you're like, you look on LinkedIn and you start to experience
Yes.
unknown,
Yes.
be very scary. And yeah, and this kind of the action, right, from FOMO.
Yeah, and let's normalize that, because let's not get it twisted. Don't think that I didn't update my resume and have moments of like searching on LinkedIn for the next leadership job. Like, of
Yeah.
course I did. It's human behavior and it's okay. Don't shame yourself for that. But then it was like I would go through all, like I remember I was considering going into insurance.
Okay. Yeah. Like you can do management leadership in a different industry,
Yes.
right?
And the further I went down that road, and the reason I went down that road was just because I needed to place my anxiety into some sort of action. The further I got down, I was like, oh, this is just me trading this for that. Like this doesn't feel
Light
like,
you up, right? It's not like,
yes,
hell yes.
yes. And so I would do my thing, whatever it was, like figuring out my business plan for my new insurance company that I'm never going to launch, or updating my resume like a psycho. And then I would like back off and be like, okay, honey. I wouldn't shame myself. Like sometimes you just got to let yourself do it, right? You just got to go through the motions. It's okay. But then I would be like, but I don't have to do that just yet. I don't have to know. It will come. Like it will come, but it's not coming today. And this isn't it. So you have to wait and wait longer and wait longer until you get that like inner wisdom that says, okay, but like if time and money and all the things didn't matter, what would I be doing? Well, I would be helping people heal so they could step into their bigger purpose. That's what I would be doing. That's what I was already doing with my friends, with my team members, all the things. And so it's okay for you to need to put your anxiety onto something, but have some like check ins, some real look in the mirror accountabilities that go, what's driving this behavior? And is that really truly where I want to go? And that's where kind of you have to balance the like woo of like envisioning your best life and like where you want to go and keeping your eye on that prize with the execution of things. And the execution would take me off track, but then I would sit in meditation or go on a hike or like dance and love on my kids. And I would remember, wait, the vision that I had created for myself, which was, oh, I want to create my own business. I want to work my own hours. I never want to work 50 hours a week again. I want to like actually sit in like containers where I get to witness transformation. I want that to have a ripple. Like I want to be able to afford things. Like I want to retire my husband like that. So I would keep my eye on that prize, but it's very normal to forget the vision and
Mhm.
go ahead and apply for the jobs, but don't
Right.
settle. That's what I want to remind the audience. Like it's okay, but don't settle. Don't settle if you can, or allow it to be a bridge to whatever the dream thing is. That's okay too. But you got to know like the
No.
difference between your anxiety making a decision and you making a conscious decision to take a bridge job that maybe doesn't have it all, but it's going to position you and buy you some time and to get to whatever the next thing is. That's okay too. But you really have to look inward and go, is it my anxiety or is it consciousness?
Yeah, yeah. Is it so how long did it take you for the intuition, right? For that channel to get clearer and for you start getting your own answers?
It took about, I mean, it started coming through on the honeymoon. And then it did take like the 6 months for me to decide, like, I want to be a therapist. I want to be a coach. I want to understand the psychology and the epigenetics and the neuroscience of human behavior. And then I started kind of researching what that path would look like. And I started talking to people. And so then I applied for grad school to get my master's in counseling psychology, and I was just going to do that. But then one of my girlfriends I had known since I was a teenager, we had like silly jobs together growing up. She owned an interior design firm in Denver, and she said, Brooke, I heard you're on the market. Like, can you come work for my company and do like all things people and like also maybe help me decide if I can turn my showroom into a furniture store and all that. And honestly, I was a little bored in grad school. Like getting your master's degree in counseling psychology is basically 4 years of intensive therapy. That's what it is.
Mm.
And so I needed to balance that deep inner work with like having some damn control over some outcomes, like helping somebody build a business. And so
Yes.
I went and worked for her for 3 years and helped and learned everything about what it like starting and growing and running a small business. Cause I had the corporate experience where a best practice is handed to you for everything. And now I'm living in the land of you're creating everything as you go. And
Mhm.
I ended up building a lot of relationships so that when I graduated with my master's, I still worked for her part time while I grew my business, but I had a lot of the connections I had made in growing her business in the design world
Okay.
come to me and say, we're not even really sure what the heck you're doing, but will you help us? And I was like, yes. And so that's where I started working with businesses and doing some like leadership coaching, energy coaching, wellness coaching. And
Mhm.
that's part of my business just started to take off, as did the counseling and coaching. And
Mhm.
so I did that. I'm trying to remember how long I balanced the two. I graduated with my master's, and 2 days later, I launched my business. And I
Nice.
had already had clients from my internship that I got to start with.
Mhm.
And so I juggled the two, like the handful of clients that I had and growing the business was still supporting my friend and her design firm until I got closer to make that leap. And then I eventually made the leap and left the firm and just went full time into my own thing. And that was 8 years. Like now I've been in business for 8 years.
Wow. Amazing. So it sounds like also from your story, things kind of it wasn't that you were forcing things like yes, you decided to go, you did some informational interviews and you decided to go for the master's degree, but then kind of your friend, this opportunity, and even when even the coaching, right, that you started doing, like people just started coming to you. It wasn't like it was hard, like it wasn't like something that you were forcing or making happen, if I hear that correctly.
Yeah. And that's where I love to teach people about like just be the signal, like be the energetic signal for whatever it is that you want to create more of in the world. So whether I was, 15 years old working at Fazoli's in the drive-through or 33, 34 years old working for a Studio 10 interior design, shout out to the beautiful work they do. I was always the signal of like transformation and joy and abundance and all the things, right? And so it didn't really make like perfect sense. There wasn't really a business plan. And
Mhm.
that part of my business today that I work with companies, I have never marketed for that. I'm literally creating processes. I just got another new client this last week. Like Thursday is when they confirm. It's a huge national design firm. They do more like land development, landscape architecture, branding of like developments.
Mhm.
200 people work for the organization, and they reached out to me based on word of mouth that they want me to be their like resident coach to mentor their mentors for the next year. And
So it's
like,
like
if you follow
leadership
me online,
development
that's not
or
what I'm marketing.
like it's like coaching for their
They're like mentoring their mentors because they developed a mentor program within. And
Mhm.
so really it's leadership and energy coaching, you
Amazing.
know? And so if you follow me online, my passion project is helping working moms. It's all working moms. Like my podcast is the Unperfected Pod. It's for working moms.
Yeah.
Everything says working moms, and
Yeah.
this work just keeps coming in. And I'm like, I don't have time to develop a marketing strategy. I'm just going to say yes if it feels right. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I like to be strategic. I lean heavy on my masculine, and I'm learning to lean more on the feminine side of my leadership. That is what my pure intention is this year. And because it has proven to me that you can have the perfect plan and the universe has a different one for you, honey. Don't get too emotionally attached. Okay.
Yeah,
And so
because
I've learned, like,
at the
yeah,
design firms, right? Like I
that's right.
you haven't like for years, like you said, have created like put out 5 posts a day, speaking to the your ideal avatar of design firms, right? And they keep
No,
coming to you, right?
no. In fact, they're like confused. They're like, well, you look like you help working moms, but like we know you're working for this client and this client, and we've heard such great things, and those businesses are thriving. And I'm like, yeah, I do. I do both. I do both because like this is my like heart passion, and then this is like the old target leader in me, the coach in me, the leadership development junkie. I
Yeah,
still love that part of my expression.
I love
I
that.
love solving problems in the business setting because I understand business.
Yep.
So I have let it. And that's not to say that it's not helpful to have a plan or a niche or a marketing strategy or a signature offering. I'm not minimizing all of those strategies. That just hasn't been the journey for me. It's just a total like, which is funny because that matches my human design. So I'm a generator in human design, which means like I uplift the energy of the planet and I help people reconnect to their own light by being in my light.
Mhm.
That's kind of what my soul's work is here to do according to human design.
Okay.
And when you look at how I manifest, there's like specific manifestors and like more general manifestors. And how I
Okay.
manifest is again, I have the vision of like, I want to be a helper in this way. And
Mhm.
then I let the universe show me the way there. But
Mhm.
all too often in my past life, I would try to action plan the living daylights out of that puppy because that was where I felt safe. But you have, so again, like these things don't happen overnight. So please be easy with yourself. If you're like, the universe isn't showing me, like it took me a long time to develop that trust muscle that like the universe will show me. That didn't happen overnight. I'm
Mhm.
8 years in, but I just know like if I have a vision and I show up in that frequency every day, and I'm authentic to the best I can be. It's not to say I don't get like sucked into the people pleasing perfectionism vortex sometimes and the comparing what everyone else is doing. That still happens to me,
Yeah.
but I get back in the game and then the universe does show me the way. And then I just look at like, I try to stay like in the bewilderment of it all. Like, how am I getting these clients? And I'm so grateful for this work and having the like diversity of it all keeps me going because I'm also a 7 on the Enneagram, which means I have a lot of it. That's the enthusiast. I have a lot of
Yeah.
different interests, a lot of different passions. I'm like squirrel onto the next business idea. It's
Yeah.
hard for us to like stay committed to one thing forever. And
Yes.
so this kind of allows me to be playful in that way. And so maybe there was a more strategic, faster way to get to where I'm at in my business, but like, who cares? You know what I mean? I've learned so much about myself and about being an entrepreneur and being a leader and being all the things by doing it kind of messy in my own way, which is
Yeah.
really what unperfected is all about. Like, just embrace the messy. The magic is in the mess.
I love that. So let's say somebody is sitting with knowing whatever they've done was not bringing them joy, right? Was not nourishing them, or there was this feeling, like you said, you're successful on the outside, right? You're accomplished, you check the boxes, but inside, there's either this numbness or something is missing or active pain, right? And kind of
Yeah.
that yearning of
Yeah.
wanting to find out what is it that will also nourish and energize me, right? What will fully use my talents and gifts? So, what would be, based on all your experience, right? What would you say is the best way to get clarity?
Mhm. Yeah. So the first thing is honor that nudge. That nudge, that little quiet voice that says there's more for me, or this isn't the right fit, or I'm not fully expressed or happy. Honor that, because I think, especially for women, we love to gaslight ourselves and disregard our own feelings.
Mm,
And we don't love to do it consciously, we do it unconsciously. So you
mhm.
might be having the nudge that said there's more for me, and you shut it down that says, well, I need to be grateful for what I have.
Yeah.
That's a conditioning, right? So honor that puppy and almost like protect it like it's a little flame inside of you that's like, don't let it go out. Okay. You don't have to act on it balls to the wall tomorrow, but like protect it. Like maybe give it a little flame and give it a little nurturing, and then create the space to be with yourself in a way that your nervous system is regulated, which then slows down your brain waves, which then allows you to access your inner guidance system, any collective wisdom that you believe in or that you're calling in. It allows you to tap deeper into kind of the more older and more primitive parts of your brain where more creativity lies. So you got to start to build practices to allow yourself to tap in and dream, whether that's breath work, meditation, hiking in nature, dancing, anything that like you get out of your thinking brain and you allow yourself to play and regulate and be still. Or for some people, the movement is actually better than just being still. We need practices and a real commitment to that. So, number one is honor and nurture that nudge, that little whisper, that little calling. Don't let it totally die out. And also don't feel the pressure to figure it all out tomorrow, because we don't need to.
Pressure. Yes.
The pressure. No, that's what we do. We're like, well, if I have this nudge to go do this, I better figure it all out tomorrow. No, honey, let's take a breath together. In this very moment, we're okay. It might not be ideal. We might know that there's something more, but in this very moment, it's okay. The number two is regulate your nervous system and engage in practices that allow you to get still or to get moving where you can access that inner guidance system.
Mm,
And that also journaling, binaural music allows you to chill. All those things are really beautiful practices. And then the third thing is like go into research mode, like follow what lights you up, do some inner child work. Like, what did I love to do when I was a child? Okay. Or, oh, this is another important piece of the puzzle, which is looking at the beliefs that you have around why you can or can't take the leap. Okay. So
right.
when you're doing the quiet or the movement inner work, let's say you want to start a business,
Mhm.
get really curious about what your deeper beliefs have to say about if you can or can't, or if you should or shouldn't. Follow your shoulds, follow your supposed tos, follow your resistance to that with a lot of love and grace and compassion. And what are those subconscious beliefs that are telling you that it's not responsible to take that leap, or you can't, or you're not good enough or smart enough? We're going to have to do some reprogramming work around our beliefs, because those are going to hold us back from having the courage or tapping into the courage to take the steps we're going to need to take. And
Mhm.
so all that you can get clear on, or you can start to get some clarity on in that second step, which is like start to tap inward. And
Mm,
then go into research mode. How are other people doing it? Hire a coach, listen to a free master class,
mhm.
listen to podcasts, read books. Like, do they love it? How did they make the transition? In other words, be inspired. Have
Mhm.
expanders that are showing your subconscious what's possible.
Yes.
So, and that feels good because it's a little more tactical. Because again, if you're in a transition, your energy and your fear is going to come through. So, we need a balance of like holding the vision, getting inward and cleaning up whatever's holding you back, and taking some action. And
Mhm.
that, like being inspired, being expanded, doing some research, that's going to feel good for you to start to channel some like action through. And then, like, trust that you are already on the journey You are figuring it out. Every little baby step that you take, if whether it's meditating for 2 minutes today, reaching out and having coffee with someone who's doing what you want to do, like celebrate the heck out of your progress, because being in that signal of enoughness and celebration and gratitude and look what I'm doing and I'm making progress, that's going to start to build and draw more people, places, and opportunities towards you. So
Mhm.
that's where I would start. And also build a toolkit to manage your anxieties through the whole process, because that is going to come through. The fear is going to come through. That's normal. That's
Yeah.
what our brains are here to do, and our nervous systems.
Yeah. So go to the creek, sit by the creek.
Yes. Do you understand like how much clarity I get just going on a hike? Or a lot of people resonate with the ideas that come through in the shower. Why do the ideas come through in the shower? Because you're present, because you're regulated.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden you're like, oh, this idea. And I'm like, yeah. So we want to like prime our vessel to receive. But we also have to like look at the beliefs that are maybe blocking us from thinking we can receive, or that we're worthy of receiving, or that whatever we receive deserves action. Because a lot of times women will get the intuitive hits,
Hmm.
and then their rational brain comes in and is like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. So we're not doing that. Or the fear comes in, and then people say, it must not be right for me that I have anxiety about it. And so they toss it. And it's like, no, anxiety doesn't mean that it's not for you. Now, I would say if it's crippling, like if you're having panic attacks about it, like, yeah, listen to your body. But if you're scared, you're doing something different. It's normal to be scared. It doesn't mean you're on the wrong path.
Hmm.
Like, learn to work with that. Like, what is my fear telling me? It's going to lead you to some belief that you're ready to reprogram around what your capabilities are and what's possible for you.
So what is your like favorite or most potent tool that you found to uncover these, like a belief? Let's say somebody might be being stopped by, because I mean
Mhm.
it's like it can be very deep in your subconscious.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things. A couple years ago, I really started committing to a morning ritual. And that morning ritual has like changed my life. I get up early, I make myself some hot tea. While the hot tea is chilling out, I do a meditation and I choose based on kind of what I think I need. And in the meditation, some things come through and I either journal or I create. But when it comes to the actual identifying the core beliefs that are holding you back, I pay attention to where I get stuck. So you have to build awareness, right? I pay attention to where I get stuck. I follow my shoulds. Well, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. And I get curious about it and go, why? According to who?
Mhm.
And underneath that should and supposed to is usually some limiting belief about what a good mother does, a good girl does, a responsible person does. And I write it down. I write down that belief, and then I ask myself, what is a more supportive, affirming belief? And I don't swing from one end to the other. Like, I can't because I don't deserve to anything is possible. Like, there's stepping stones here, friends.
Okay, okay, okay.
You like, maybe your belief is like, it's possible that I could make this leap of faith and it could work out, and you write that down and you start your day thinking about that and envisioning yourself doing that and getting connected to the emotion of what it feels like. And then you put it on a sticky note where you see it every day because that's your vision, and you take aligned action. But to really get to the root of the reprogramming, I love brain spotting. So I do brain spotting, which I don't
Okay,
know if you know what that is, but it's like EMDR's new and like more efficient cousin. So
okay.
it's a brain body based therapy that allows you to get deeper into your brain where your trauma memories are stuck, and allows you to remove the stuck energy out of your body, and allows you to create new neural pathways around what's possible. So I do a lot of what we call double spotting and expansion, where we'll work through the traumas that develop the belief around I'm not enough, I'm not worthy of, I don't deserve, I'm scared, it's never going to happen. And it sound familiar. We all had those. And then I start to help them build neural connections around what's possible for them. Like, okay, so now imagine yourself on that stage. Imagine yourself embodying whatever it is you want in your life. Imagine yourself with your love of your life. Imagine yourself on that yacht, whatever it is you want. And I'll have them kind of toggle between the two spots. And so that's one of the things I love to do. But I also love Lacey Phillips has her brand is called To Be Magnetic.
Okay, okay.
And have you heard of her? And her
I think
podcast is the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Expanded podcast.
Yeah.
So she's created this thing called the deep imagining, a DI, which is like a self hypnotic process
Mhm.
where you go into this like deep state and that's where you access your subconscious beliefs. It's the same thing we're doing there that we're doing in the brain spotting that you're doing like there's a lot of different ways you can get there,
Yeah, I mean, this is
but
what Joseph
that's what I
Murphy
love.
thought about auto suggestion. Yeah,
What'd you
about
say? Say that again.
this is what Joseph Murphy taught in the book of The Power of Your Subconscious Mind,
Mhm.
back
Yes.
decades
Yes.
ago, about like getting into that state, that relaxed state, and that's where the, essentially reprogramming.
Mhm.
And so I'm just so your journey, okay? So you leave Target, right?
Mhm.
You recognize it's no longer serving you, or you can't do that really. That kind of pattern of behavior.
Mhm.
Um, and then you take the 6 months, you enroll into the master's program, and you decide that you want to help people, right?
Mhm.
Transform and coach. And then also so you didn't like the design work and kind of how things came was it, I think it tied into you talking about being some specific or non-specific manifester in human design, because
Mhm.
a lot of people don't know, right? Because people don't know their purpose, they're seeking for their purpose. So you can, like, what is this balance? Like, how can you craft a vision, or do you just kind of hold a state of being? Is that what you
Mhm.
held, or kind of abundance, or some key words, like as you were talking
Mhm.
about the antenna, but
Mhm.
you don't know? Because I mean, what's the point of saying I'm gonna be this speaker or whatever if you don't know if that's for you, right?
Mhm. Yeah. So I go beyond the how and I think about how I want to feel,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So my word for 2024 is alive. I want to feel freaking alive. And that looks like present. That looks like lit up by the work that I'm doing. That looks like all my cells like dancing and jumping, right? That looks like impact. That looks like the signal. So I want to feel alive. And
Hmm.
that's the vision. And I imagine myself in my mind's eye, like, what will I look like, be like, sound like when I feel alive?
So the
Okay.
state of being, okay.
It's a state of being. So it's like the feeling I'm after that connects me to the signal of frequency that I need to be in. Then I go and I start my day. I'm not kidding you guys. I am literally just a biohacking queen over here. And if you were to follow me around and see like all day long, I'm working on myself to do these things. Like it's like half the day I'm like priming my vessel and the other half I'm actually doing work because it takes a real journey for me to be, show up in the world this way. It does. So I
Okay.
start my day with literally, and no matter how I feel, because I struggle with mental health. And so I want to normalize that. And so there's a lot of days that I wake up and I feel depressed and lethargic and heavy and grumpy, and I don't want to get out of bed, let alone face reality. And so I just allow that and honor that in the morning. And then I put my attention on this vision I have created of feeling alive. And I choose to place my attention on that. And
Mhm.
that choice is one of the most powerful tools that we have because what you focus on, you create more of. So I don't minimize the depression or the anxiety or I don't minimize that. We look at those things, we get support on those things, we integrate those things. They're very real.
Mhm.
And then I also choose to imagine myself feeling alive. And I say to myself in my head, like, today I feel so alive. And immediately I start to feel a little bit better. Okay. And then I start my morning ritual.
Mhm.
And that's cozy. I'm not like getting out of bed and like going to the gym and freezing my fanny off. Like I get to just cozy. Cozy is, I need a transition into
Yeah.
the world. I go downstairs, I do my meditation that helps me get into alignment. And then in my journal, if I choose to journal, sometimes ideas flow and I have to start creating. But if I journal, I literally journal. I share this in one of my podcast episodes around how to journal because there's different methods for everybody. But what has worked for me is I will like brain dump anything that's coming through that maybe isn't super sexy and pleasant.
Mhm.
Like what I'm struggling with. If that's coming up, if shame came up in my morning meditation, I'm going to flush that out. If none of that came up, cool, awesome, yay for me. I'm always surprised. Okay. I don't have any expectations of what's coming through this mind and body. But it's not always super like fun. Then I write out, today I feel alive. And then I write out the things I'm doing today that are going to help me feel alive. Well, my morning ritual, I've already won. Look at me. I'm doing it. I'm already a freaking winner for the day. It's all downhill from there, baby. But
Yeah.
then it's like, I do Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditation. And then it's like at lunch, I'm going to have a nourishing lunch and then I'm going to go for a walk or I'm going to do a yoga nidra. And tonight I'm going to, go to a dance class and I get to read books with my daughter and like really connect with her. Or I'm going to show up for my mastermind call. It's like I hold myself like, what aligned action am I taking today to help me get to that vision and that feeling of being alive? And I
Mhm.
celebrate the heck out of it. And again, I get pulled out because there's triggers and there's real life things, and I come back in. And that's really what I think has then the universe shows me the how. If I can stay connected to the vision of how I want to feel,
Okay,
and I
okay.
can work with my energy and my subconscious mind, and then I can take aligned action and I hold my Fanny accountable. And it's not every day that I have to do all the things, but I'm at least doing one or two or three things that I know help me feel alive.
Mm,
Then that's the universe will show me the how. And I just have to keep walking through the doors that feel like alive.
mm.
That's the strategy for me. And I'm really going to lean into that, like all in, all out in 2024, which will be a little bit of a difference in how I've done things before.
Okay.
Hmm.
And it's interesting because like I will say I know that you can also get to a place where you're using these rituals
Hmm.
as a checkbox and they become heavy and
Mm.
become to-dos and
Hmm.
they become procrastinations, right? And then ways to be hard on
Distractions.
yourself. Like either spend all day or find yourself after hours, or I still haven't done it, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
they can start to feel like chores and it's not fun and you don't feel alive anymore and it's just a checkbox.
100%. So you have to there's a million things you can do each day to tap in and do the inner work. There's a million things you can do to raise your vibration. There's a million things you can do to heal. You got
Mhm.
to try them on and do the ones that feel good. But here's the caveat. Here's the caveat.
Okay, okay.
A lot of people will like jump ship before they've given the hack a chance to actually work. Meditation is a perfect example of that. Okay. People do it 2 days and they're like, I don't feel better. And it's like, yeah, because nothing works in 2 days, honey. Okay.
But
Okay. You got to do that shit for 30 days. Sorry. It's like, so here's what I'll say of the list of all the things that could help you,
Mhm.
which ones do you actually feel like I would like to try that? Choose one. Because here's another thing. We have a mechanism in our brain that measures effort for outcome. So, and this is where everyone's at, like, not everyone, but a lot of people with this whole New Year's resolution culture. Everyone's like, I'm going to work out 5 days a week and I'm going to cook healthy meals at home and I'm going to food prep on Sunday. Your brain goes, the hell you are, girlfriend. That's funny. That's actually funny. If you've ever sat down at your desk and like looked at your email and you've got your to-do list and you open up all your apps and you suddenly felt totally frozen and in a
Okay.
collapse
Mm.
and you're sitting and spinning and you
Yeah.
don't know what step to take. That's a perfect illustration of what I'm talking about. This mechanism in your brain goes, we're not going to be able to do all of that. So we're not going to put in any effort and you will literally go into collapse. So whether it is your business goals, your health goals, or your just wellness, like we're talking about little biohacks here, you got to choose 1 to 3 max, little baby steps. Like, you know what? I'm going to do 2 minutes of meditation 3 days a week this week.
Mhm.
and you stick with it and you celebrate the heck out of the fact that you did that one thing. There's no shaming allowed here, friends. There's awareness. You build your awareness and you get back in. But I would say if you've done something for 30 days and you're dreading it, that's not the hack for you, babe. Go
Okay.
on to something else. Some people hate journaling. They need to go to dance class. Some
Mhm.
people love breath work over, it's okay. Like find the things that work for you, give them a chance. Start really small because I love this concept of the 1 degree turns that I learned from Martha Beck. It's like if
Okay.
you were to do a 1 degree turn by doing a 2-minute meditation today, in 6 months from now, that 1 degree turn today, with the 1 degree turn tomorrow, with the 1 degree turn the next day, that is all very doable.
Mm.
You will be flying in a totally different direction in your life in 6 months from now.
Mm. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
what we do is
Yeah.
we say, I'm going to do it all. And then we don't do any of it. And then we shame the crap out of ourselves and we start from the beginning. So start really small, build the habit, 1 degree turn, and also like do the things that feel good to you in your body. Just because someone else is doing them doesn't mean it's the right tool for you. But if it's like one of those things that you kind of know intuitively is going to help you, but you just don't want to because like sitting in silence is hard for the go getters in the world, give yourself a chance. Do it for 30 days for a couple of minutes. See
Mhm.
what's possible for you. I hated meditation when I first started it. Literally was like, this is not the thing for me. I felt dizzy
Mhm.
afterward.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's exactly why I was the candidate who needed it really bad.
Mhm.
So that's
Okay,
what I would say
okay.
about that. Baby
Everything.
steps.
Yeah, I like pick one thing to start with, and it can change,
Mhm. It
right?
can
And it,
change. And go gentle with yourself. Like, what are we racing toward? Like, we're not going to be healed overnight. We're not going to be a one-hit wonder overnight. We're not going to be the most successful version. Like, guys, the journey, like, it's a lifelong journey we're on.
you love that,
So
right?
it's taken me
When I get there, it's
years.
fun to get there.
Yeah, we do. And I understand, but it's like people are always like, how did you get to that space where you have all your little rituals and practices? It's like, guys, it took me years of trial and error, of falling off for months,
Mhm.
falling into old patterns for months. Like, this has been so messy.
Mhm.
And now I'm to a place because it's like I took it one little baby step at a time and I started to build. And now I like look forward to my rituals. They're things that I look forward to.
What do
They're
you
not a,
most look forward to?
yeah.
What do
And
you
I,
most look
what'd you
forward?
say?
What do you most look forward to from your rituals?
Oh man. So definitely my morning ritual. Okay.
Okay,
That
okay,
hour of quiet time.
okay,
Oh,
okay.
it's so juicy. It's so juicy. It's my hot tea. It's my meditation.
Mhm.
It's my like intention. I have a beautiful space that's just like sexy and cool and comfy and cozy. And that is like how you start your day sets the tone for the day. I don't look at my phone. I don't look at social media. I don't look at my email. I am protective of what I call the precious jewels, time, energy, and sanity.
Okay.
I'm not getting involved in any stuff unless, of course, I'm a mother. So I have an older child who's in college and I have a 6-year-old. So sometimes she comes into our bed. So listen, there's no such thing as perfection. There's plenty of mornings when the morning ritual ain't popping off. However, that morning ritual is really juicy for me, really juicy. And then I would say the midday ritual, which I kind of call like a charging station, whether it is a walk or a 20-minute yoga nidra.
Okay.
That yoga nidra is just a guided meditation. You don't have to move your body. You lay down. And if you do a 20-minute one, it's the equivalent of 3 hours of your most restful sleep. That gives me what I need to get through what I call second shift of being a working mom, which is all the shit that happens in the afternoon and evening. It's
Yeah.
a lot. Like the shift is long. And so, like, whether it's a yoga nidra or a walk with a podcast or even a deep imagining from To Be Magnetic, it's that afternoon of like I start to get really in my head and the energy starts to feel hot. That is where I empty out totally.
Mm.
And then I'm like, okay, I think I can handle my life for the second act today.
Nice.
I also, okay, so 6:30 to 7:30 at night is mama's time. My husband knows it, my child knows it, like, and I either take a hot bath, which it's winter, so that's what I'm doing every night right now. Or I take a walk if I didn't do a walk. If I opted out of the walk in the midday because I wanted to just rest or whatever, that night it's like it's just established in my household that like, we'll do dinner and all that. And then like mama grabs her big ice water and I go up to the bath and I light my candles and I get all my things and I listen to a podcast and that's my time. So I'm not kidding you. I have like a morning ritual, an afternoon ritual, and an evening ritual. And these are the things that allow me to show up and be like the version of myself I want to be. For the most part, I still have my moments, okay? And all my rituals don't always happen. That's life. But I have a lot of grace and space for myself. When I look at my week, I can see that I put some real intention to these rituals and I'm proud of myself, even if they're not, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that's what I look forward to. I also really look forward to like, I do books with my daughter before she goes down and just having like a real connection point with her where I'm so present and we're like co-regulating our nervous system and I'm like cheek to cheek with her, which if you like hug someone for 20 seconds, it's a way to complete your stress cycle. So I'm like, we're both completing our stress cycles while we're in tune. Like that's another one that I just look forward to a lot that helps me feel like connected to who I really am and what matters most. So those
That's
are kind of my favorites, but I do have a lot, I'm not gonna lie.
you're funny. That's so beautiful. It made me it lit me up, made me smile. So, Brooke Jean, how can people connect with you and follow all that you're doing and all that you want to share?
Yeah, my ridiculousness. So on Instagram at Brooke Jean unperfected. Liveunperfected.com is my website. My podcast is the Unperfected Pod. And I just love to embrace my messy and just kind of live out loud and show women what's possible on the other side of perfection. Like it opens up so much for us. But I do like to share the moments that are also really sticky and hard because I think we don't do that enough. So yeah, come say hi to me or let us know if there was anything in our conversation today that helped you in any way. Let us know because I don't know about you, but that like lights that helps me feel alive.
Yeah.
Like what how was there something anything in here that was helpful? Let me know because that is part of like feeling alive every day. You have no idea like the jump for joy and the little childlike giggle that happens when I see that somebody like something landed, because everything happens in the right timing. So if you're listening to this right now, there was probably something that your heart and soul really needed. And I love when I get to actually see that happen. So
Yeah, definitely. Direct message, Brooke Jean or myself, or share this in your stories and tag us. We'd love to hear from you. I totally agree that kind of two-way engagement, right? We're having the conversation
yes.
between you and I in the recording, but really it will be different things resonate with different people. And it's really when we hear, I think, this whole unity, right? That we're all connected in a way. And that's how we hear, oh, I didn't think about that. Let me try that. And like you said, it's either the examples or some of the tools, right? That show us what's possible or we maybe had not thought of or seen as an example before.
Totally. Like we're growing just as much from you guys as you're growing. It's all cyclical. It's all relative. So absolutely. And let us know where you're stuck too. If you're stuck somewhere, let us know. We can help you get unstuck.
Yeah, I love your energy. Did you feel like when you started your business, right? When
Mm-hmm.
you left corporate, like did you feel like also that your personality, like you said that I think you felt more constricted
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
when working
Mm-hmm.
for the company versus like did you start expressing your
Yep.
personality more fully?
100%. So like in my journey at Target, I was like given feedback that I was too much and too emotional. And you had to take all
What?
these intelligence tests to get to the next level. And I'd always be like mediocre on the intelligence test. So I was told you're not that smart over and over. And I believed that. Even though I was like fixing stores, like, how can you not be smart and strategic if I'm fixing this operation? And so I started to let that become part of my identity. And then when I shed all of that, I was like, actually, my emotionality is a superpower. I just need to harness it and heal it. Cause like I realize now that my big emotions came from I'm sensitive and I'm very empathic and I'm very intuitive. I just didn't know that. And so my emotionality is coming from those superpowers. And yet I shut those down because A, they weren't really healthy, I'll be honest. I wasn't demonstrating those strengths in a super healthy way in my 20s, right? But I really turned the dial down on those things, including my what I thought what my intelligence level was. And so leaving that setting that was telling me kind of what I was good at and what I wasn't, it was like, wait a minute. No, like my emotionality is my superpower. I just need to harness it. And also, I'm super smart. It doesn't matter what an intelligence test says about me. Like, I can make things happen and I can see like the ripple effect. And like, that's how I've been able to start a business and grow a business and all the things. So, yeah, I would say like you shed those layers and
Mhm.
then your real personality, your real essence starts to come through. And you're like, wait, no, I'm not playing by this narrative that I'm not that smart anymore.
Mhm.
That's not happening. That's not happening. I'm smart enough. Okay. I'm smart enough.
And did it also take
And I
time?
am emotional. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So yeah, I definitely have tapped in. My personality was always this way, but I just like shut parts of it off to fit the idea of success that I was sold. And that honestly I was held accountable to in that corporate setting. But
yeah,
even in the like mom department, like I didn't need to be volunteering every damn Wednesday. Like that's crazy. Like
yeah,
the
yeah,
moms that are working 60 hours a week are not the moms that need to be doing the most, right? Like
yeah, yeah,
let's
yeah.
do the
A
things that
lot.
actually light us up. You don't need
Yeah,
to do all the things. Choose the couple that really light you up and invest your time, energy, and sanity into those. But I was trying to do all the things because I was trying to fit this image of what a good mom does. And
yeah,
now I know, God, a good mom, like, no, I don't need to be perfect. I don't need to be at everything. I don't need to cook, gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free meals 5 nights a week. I don't need to do the sensory play. Like, dude, those are not all the things that light me up. You know what lights me up? Presence, aliveness, and quality time. So I choose to make that happen in my family life. And the rest is like a no. Is I see that email about it's Spirit Week before Christmas, and I'm like, no, it's a no. It's a no for me. It's a fucking no. Don't do that to me the
listen.
week before Christmas. You know what I mean? So it's like whether you were in a system that told you what success was or you're not, just the world is kind of telling you through social media and the
Oh,
never ending influx of online information about how to be the perfect fill in the blank. It's like declutter all that noise and
yeah,
again, listen to within, follow what lights you up and feels good in your body and invest in those and literally let the rest go. That's what I call in the business like shedding the shoulds. Like I
yeah,
should do this. According to who?
yeah.
Grandma? Like no, not even grandma would expect that of me. Do you know what I mean? Like where did I get this
Like the voice
idea?
inside, the very,
Yes.
very strict and high expectation voice inside that you should make the healthy home cooked dinner and also have a successful career, right? And be all the
All the
things.
things. All
Yeah.
the things. It's like we've just expected more and more and more and more, and nothing comes off the plate. And then we're also the sickest we've ever been.
Mhm.
Mothers are, the women are the sickest we've ever been. And we're wondering why.
Mhm.
Because we're doing a bunch of shit that doesn't light us up. And then we're stuffing our emotion around it because there's no space in the world for our feelings. And then that stuffed emotion that we don't discharge becomes physical, psychological, mental, and emotional problems.
Yeah. That's why I'm super into somatic work like now, like this like
Yes.
connecting, like you have to like all the things that we stuff down, the anger, the frustration, especially these
The
bad
trauma.
feelings, right? Emotions.
Yeah. And then we wonder why we carry 80% of the autoimmune diseases.
Yeah.
It's like we can't stuff that anymore, guys. That's where the like embrace your messy, like let's say it out loud. Let's not judge each other. Like we're struggling. It's okay. Let's get the support. It's
Yeah.
okay, but like let's also stop doing all the things. Like you
Yeah.
are enough. You don't have to do all the things. It took me some pretty intense moments to finally get that through to me. Like, I don't have to do all the things.
Mhm.
I can actually choose a couple of things that matter the most to me and let those guide me in my life.
Mm. I love that. Yeah. because all the pressure is coming from internally, from
Mm-hmm.
like it's not even anybody else holding the stick, you know,
Mm-hmm.
or you have, it's
Mm-hmm.
internal. It's
But
your,
it's conditioning. It's like it's growing up from 0 to 7, we were very impressionable and we were absorbing all these messages around what it meant to be a good girl and what a role of mother is. And then you see it in the media and you see it in advertising and you see it everywhere. And you're like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. And but it's like, no, like that's not true. I know that it seems that way, but that's why we have to be really mindful of like, what are we letting in? Because
Mhm.
we're letting in this information and subconsciously we're developing beliefs that that's what it's supposed to be. And then we're holding ourselves accountable to that.
To that standard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Mhm.
Yes,
So
let's
shed the shoulds, baby. Embrace your messy, shed the shoulds, and find freedom through a life unperfected. That's my message. That's the thing that I love to help. We work with girls, we work with women because I have a team too. Girls, women, and mothers just kind of unmask and unburden and step into the full expression of who they are. And when I think about what's possible for like the planet and the
that,
collective when we as women unburden and unmask and like shine our light, our true core essence, like there's so much deep and meaningful and juicy things that are going to happen there. And
yeah.
there's a collective impact when we do just that.
I love that. So go connect with Brooke Jean. I will and listen to her podcast. I'm gonna link everything in the show notes so you can find all the links and all the things. I love the conversation. I love your energy. Thank you for doing this work, and you're a light yourself, and we'll stay connected. Thank you so
Y-
much.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me on. It was a beautiful conversation and have a good rest of your day.